Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into some pretty amazing advancements in biology and medicine, and they're all happening thanks to data analysis. We've got a really interesting mix of sources today, everything from the RNA-seq blog to some brand new research from Nature.
It really seems like every day brings new discoveries, and it's incredible how much our ability to analyze these massive amounts of biological data is driving all this progress. It's completely changing how we understand and treat diseases.
So let's jump right in. There's this one article from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital that really caught my eye. They figured out a new way to analyze single-cell data, which is a huge GE deal because now researchers can study individual cells instead of just looking at like a whole tissue sample.
Yeah, think of it like you're trying to understand a city by only looking at a satellite image. You get the general idea, but you can't see the individual buildings, the traffic, the people. Single cell analysis is like zooming in at street level. You see all those details and how everything works together.
So like going from a blurry satellite image to like a high-def Google Earth view. I love that analogy. And I read they're using machine learning and graphics processing to do this. Can you explain how that works?
Absolutely. Machine learning is kind of like having a whole army of super detectives going through mountains of data to find clues that we humans might miss. In this case, they're looking for patterns in the gene expression of each cell, which shows us how individual cells function and interact. And graphics processing is what gives them the power to run these really complex algorithms.
Wow, so it's like having a supercomputer dedicated to just decoding the secrets of each cell. That's amazing. Speaking of cool tech, there's also some news from NASA's GeneLab for colleges and universities. They're launching these new on-demand courses on things like RNA sequencing.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's so important to make this kind of specialized knowledge more accessible. RNA sequencing is like listening in on the cell's internal conversations. You can actually see which genes are active and producing proteins at any given moment. You get this real-time snapshot of what's happening inside.
Okay, so RNA sequencing is like the live news feed of the cell, showing us the action as it unfolds. That's fascinating. But what I don't quite get is why NASA is getting involved in RNA sequencing. What does that have to do with space exploration?
Well, space is this really unique environment to study how life adapts to extreme conditions. You know, astronauts experience all kinds of physiological changes in microgravity, like bone loss and muscle atrophy. By studying these changes at a cellular level using RNA sequencing, we can learn so much about how the human body works both in space and here on Earth.
So it's like the giant cosmic laboratory. Studying astronauts in space helps us understand our own bodies better down here. I'm starting to see how all these pieces connect. Okay, so for our next deep dive, we're shifting gears from space to personalized medicine. Tempus and Genialis are partnering up to develop these RNA-based biomarker algorithms using AI.
This partnership has so much potential. Biomarkers are like these indicators of a particular biological state or condition. They can be incredibly useful for diagnosing diseases, predicting how someone might respond to a treatment, and monitoring patient progress. And RNA-based biomarkers give us this more dynamic and nuanced view of what's going on inside a cell compared to the traditional DNA-based biomarkers.
So if DNA is like the blueprint RNA, like the construction crew showing us what's being built in real time, I think I'm getting it.
Yep.
One thing that really stood out to me is that Tempus has access to this massive multimodal data set. Why is that so important for this kind of research?
Well, data is the fuel that powers AI. The more data you have, especially from different sources like clinical records, imaging, and genomics, the more accurate and reliable your algorithms become. It's like you're teaching the AI to see the world from all these different angles, and that helps it make better decisions.
So it's not just about how MUCH data you have, but also about the variety.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've got a ton of articles here from Nature, and they cover all kinds of applications for bioinformatics, machine learning, and AI in both biology and medicine. Where do we even start?
Well, there's this one study that really shows the power of AI in drug discovery. It's all about developing new drug targets for hyperaldosteronism. That's a hormonal disorder that can cause high blood pressure.
So they're using AI to find better ways to treat high blood pressure. That's a pretty big deal considering how many people have it.
Exactly. They're using bioinformatics to analyze tons of data, looking for specific genes and proteins that could be targeted by new drugs. It's like having this super-powered search engine for drug discovery.
Yeah.
It helps researchers find the most promising leads way faster.
So instead of just randomly testing thousands of compounds, they're using data to focus on the best targets. That's got to be so much more efficient. Okay, what else is catching your eye in nature? There's this really cool study that uses deep learning to identify cardiac wall motion abnormalities just from looking at electrocardiograms.
Wait, they can spot heart problems just by analyzing an EKG.
Ah.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's not magic, but it is pretty amazing. The AI has been trained on thousands and thousands of EKGs, and it's learned to pick up these subtle patterns that could mean there's a problem with how the heart's walls are moving.
So it's like having this virtual cardiologist constantly watching your heart looking for any signs of trouble. That's incredible. What other mind-blowing applications are out there?
How about this? Researchers have developed a new way to improve 3D deep learning segmentation for cell analysis.
Okay, that one sounds a little complicated. Can you explain it in simpler terms?
And imagine looking at a 3D image of a cell, right? It's packed with all these complex structures. Segmentation is like digitally outlining and labeling all those structures like the nucleus, the mitochondria, and so on. That way you can study each one individually. Deep learning is making this process much more accurate and efficient.
So it's like taking a blurry picture and sharpening it so you can see every tiny detail.
Exactly. It's giving researchers a much clearer view of how the cell works on the inside, which is crucial for understanding how cells function in both health and disease.
I'm definitely seeing a pattern here. Whether it's drug discovery, diagnosing heart problems, or analyzing cells in 3D AI is changing the game in biology and medicine.
It really is. And there's so much more happening in this field. We have studies on tailoring industrial enzymes with machine learning, identifying biomarkers for knee osteoarthritis, even using AI to recognize different types of Chinese herbal medicines.
Wow, it seems like AI is making its way into every corner of biology and medicine. Now let's go back to that NASA GeneLab news for a second. They're not just offering courses on RNA sequencing, are they? They're also offering a general introduction to space biology. What exactly would people learn in that course?
It's a great way to get into the fascinating world of space biology. The course covers everything from the history of space exploration to the challenges of living and working in microgravity. It also explores how space research is helping us understand these fundamental biological processes right here on Earth.
It's like opening a whole new chapter in our understanding of life. I'm really interested in the research on how space travel affects astronauts' health. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure, astronauts go through all these physiological changes in space. Things like bone loss, muscle atrophy, and changes to their immune system. By studying these changes, we can figure out new treatments for conditions like osteoporosis and muscle wasting here on Earth. It also gives us a ton of insight into how the human body adapts to these extreme environments.
So what they learn up in space doesn't stay up in space. It can actually help people down here.
Sure.
It's fantastic. Now, before we move on, I wanted to go back to one of those Nature articles that really caught my attention, the one about tailoring industrial enzymes using machine learning. Can you tell us a little more about that?
It's a really cool example of how AI is moving beyond medicine and into other industries. Enzymes are these essential ingredients in tons of industrial processes, from making food to developing biofuels. But finding the perfect enzyme for a specific job can be a huge challenge. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack.
So how is machine learning helping to solve that problem?
It's like giving researchers a superpowered magnet to find that needle. By analyzing these massive data sets of enzyme structures and functions, AI algorithms can predict which enzymes are most likely to do well under specific conditions. This could totally revolutionize enzyme engineering and allow us to design and optimize enzymes for a whole bunch of different applications.
So we're not just talking about making better laundry detergent here. We're talking about possibly creating new biofuels or making food production more sustainable.
Exactly. The possibilities are really exciting.
Speaking of exciting possibilities, there's another Nature article I have to mention. It's the one about using machine learning to predict something called prognostic consensus molecular subtypes in cervical cancer, just by looking at histology images. That sounds incredibly complicated.
It is, but let me try to simplify it. Basically, researchers are using AI to look at microscope images of cervical cancer cells and predict how aggressive the cancer might be and how well a patient might respond to treatment.
So it's like using AI to peek into the future of a patient's cancer. That's both fascinating and a little scary.
It is a powerful tool, but we have to remember it's just a tool. We still need human experts to interpret the results and make decisions based on each patient's individual needs.
That's a really good point. AI can give us these valuable insights, but in the end, it's up to humans to use those insights responsibly.
Okay, I feel like we've covered a lot today. Is there anything else from our stack of sources that we absolutely can't miss? There's actually one more study from Nature that I think ties in really well with what we were talking about earlier with the data diversity. It's about using deep learning with those electrocardiograms, again, to identify cardiac wall motion abnormalities. But this time, they're focusing on diverse populations.
Oh, right. We talked about using AI to analyze EKGs already. What's different about this one?
Well, we touched on it briefly, but this study really dives into how important it is to have diverse data sets when you're training AI algorithms. Like, if the training data is biased or doesn't really represent all the different kinds of people out there, the algorithm won't be as accurate, especially for those underrepresented groups.
So it's not just about how MUCH data you have,
Mhm.
but also the quality and representation. That makes a lot of sense. We want to make sure these AI tools are accurate and effective for everyone, no matter who they are.
Exactly. This study shows just how crucial it is to have these diverse data sets to make sure the algorithms are fair and unbiased.
It's a good reminder that we need to be careful about potential biases in all these AI applications, not just in medicine.
Right. As AI becomes more and more a part of our lives, we really need to make sure it's being used ethically and benefits everyone.
Okay, well, I think we've covered a ton of ground today. From single-cell analysis to space biology to AI-powered drug discovery, it's clear that data is completely revolutionizing biology and medicine.
Yeah, it's been amazing exploring all these breakthroughs with you. What stands out to you the most from all these advancements?
You know, it's hard to choose just one. The speed of all this innovation is mind-blowing. It seems like every single day there's a new discovery, and it's all thanks to our ability to analyze these huge amounts of data. It really feels like we're entering a whole new era in biology and medicine, one where personalized treatments and preventative care are becoming more and more of a reality.
I couldn't agree more. It's such an exciting time to be working in these fields, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to check out all the sources we talked about today and dig a little deeper into these incredible topics. The future of biology and medicine is being shaped by data, and it's a future full of promise. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.